Welcome back to the CD Financial Podcast. CD Financial, where health meets wealth. I'm Marcus C., your host. As always, that man across from me is Chuck D. Chuck, how the heck are you, man?
Pounding through, baby. Moving forward, moving forward.
I
Every
love it.
day, advance.
I love it.
Avante. Yes. That's the
Yeah.
way it goes, baby.
You gotta keep that momentum flowing. I'm glad to hear it. Southern Cal treating you okay these days?
Ready to play. Ready to
Giddy
play.
up.
Every day,
Giddy
ready
up.
to play. You got to keep going. Every day. Every
I
day,
love it.
showing up every day.
I love it. Have you been
How
out
about
on
you?
the
What's going on in Austin? What's going on in the Big T?
well, right now weather's beautiful. This is why people come to Austin. It's right at 70 degrees and sunny today.
Very
So
nice.
days like this, they're great when you live here, but at the same time you cringe a little bit every time it happens because then you think just one more reason for people to move here and we don't need any more of that. We need some more gloomy days to kind of discourage the influx of people coming from all parts. But I can't blame 'em. I love it here, so I'm
Very
not
good.
gonna be too down on anybody who wants to move
I
here.
love it too. It's great. I love that
Yeah,
place. I love it
yeah.
there.
You been out in the paddle boards lately?
I have not. But I'm glad you brought that up. See,
Yeah.
I have to keep moving forward every day. Maybe that gives me something to look forward to on the weekend.
Giddy up, yeah. And
Yeah.
next time I'm out there, I want to be on that paddle board. I want to paddle out and pet a whale. Is that a thing? Can we get that? Make that happen?
Yeah, just don't let anybody see you do it.
We won't video that. How's that?
Yeah, you can pet a whale. If you could get that close, more power to you. That'd be awesome. I I mean, more often than not, it's calmer in the harbor, and so
Yeah.
Dana Point Harbor. But I still have not bought a preserver. I'm supposed to keep it on my paddleboard, and so every now and then they'll holler at me and say, "Hey, there's a regulation. It's been there for years. You know,
Mm.
I think it was pre-COVID, so it's been years." I just like, I don't know. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna get knocked out. It's because they in California I don't know if they classify it as a watercraft. I don't know.
I
Yeah,
guess if you're out in the open water, makes sense.
yeah, it makes sense. It's gonna happen here first and then trickle down to other areas sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just take a beer koozie with you and keep your cold one in there, and that counts as a flotation device.
Now, see, that's what I'm talking about. That's a Texan right there.
That's
Yeah,
that's innovation, baby. That's how we do
I love that freedom in Texas, right? Nobody's gonna shake me down for a life preserver. They're like, well, it's your life, right?
it. Hey, listen, if I'm on a paddleboard in Texas, I'm carrying a beer and a shotgun with me, just so we're clear.
I thought it was just a handgun. What was was it the Guadalupe where we went down and the boys were
Yeah.
little and we had an extra uh, uh, tube just for the beer cooler. We floated the beer in did we float it right in the water? I can't remember.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
oh, man, that was great. That was so much fun. And that was way before they had thousands of people flocking to the Guadalupe all at once, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah,
that water actually it stays pretty cool. A lot of it is spring fed, so it keeps the beer cool. Um,
that was
so
so
yeah, man.
yeah. The boys had a good time too. And what were they? Jude might have been 4 or 5, and Isaac was 6 or 7, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but boy, they took to that water.
Man, oh man, was that fun. That was such a blast. I love that.
We
Okay.
got it. All right, so this weekend it's going to be water sports for us. I think we're putting that on the agenda.
So what are we talking about?
TSP, TSP. So since we deal with a lot of federal employees, right, we want to make sure that we put out good information as far as that goes. TSP. So the question at hand, the overall question, we're obviously going to break it down some. Should I keep my TSP into retirement? Maybe we'll start there, and then we can talk about some of the different aspects of it.
Okay. You danced around that subject. I'm glad you got it out there.
Yeah,
The
I always
TSP,
dance around stuff. Why use 10 words when 100 will do?
you're two-stepping here. Horchata?
Bachata. Horchata is a drink, but I like
Horchata.
where you're going.
What was it? What's a bachata?
Bachata, yeah.
Bachata. That's the Spanish dance. Okay, good. Mexicano. Okay, so the question is, should I leave my money at TSP or
Right.
should I leave it in retirement at TSP? Okay,
Yes.
so and what was there another question? Oh, so it all depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Let me answer
Okay.
it simply. What are you trying to accomplish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the
So,
TSP, go ahead.
no, I was going to get into the minutia, but before I do that, I want you to just address it first. Should I keep it? And then we're going to talk a little bit more, break down the advantages and disadvantages, if you will.
Yeah. So I mean, the TSP is simple, right?
Hmm.
That's a strength of the TSP. It's simple. The fees are quite slim, razor thin, and you're familiar with it. So you've had it. Maybe some of you have had it for decades, right?
Possibly, yeah.
Years at least, and it's warm and fuzzy because when you're a government employee, you're not. You may be changing agencies, which I see, but more often than not, you're staying with the federal government. And so you've had it for so many years. It's not like you change in the outside world and you went from, you know, I don't know what 401k providers there are, but you went from one to the other to the other to the other. You're used to it. It's TSP. It keeps transferring over to your different federal jobs. So it's something familiar to you, and it's very simple. There's only a few investments, right? I
Yeah.
mean, 5 major investments, but typically the G and the C fund are the ones that are used the most. Then after that, the S fund, the I fund, then the F, or the fixed bond fund, is the last one that's used. From my experience, that's it. And you can Google that at tsp.gov and see how much money's in each fund. Yeah.
Okay. So other than, I mean, I like safe and familiar. I think we all tend to fall into that safe and familiar on some level, right? We all appreciate that as humans. Are there any other strengths to the TSP other than safe and familiar?
Well, let me help you out here.
Yeah.
Safe is not is not exactly the TSP, just like any other investment funds. The
Yeah.
only safe fund is the G fund. But familiar, yeah, but beyond it being familiar, there are strengths because, as I said again, razor fees, right? Like hardly any, like very little on the fees, and it's easy to understand. So when you have to make changes, you're just gonna have 2 or 3 funds for the growth, and you're gonna have one fund that's absolutely guaranteed not to lose anything, the G fund.
Right.
Yeah. So
So I guess safe is always relative. I mean, we deal with economic, fluctuations right over the years. So safe is always relative in terms of retirement
yeah,
and
yeah, we,
investments.
we we can use the word stable, and
Stable,
that
maybe that's a better word.
yeah,
Good.
stable. There you go. And that way, anybody listening, and if they're interested, they could say, "Well, okay, now that's correct, stable," but we can't say safe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think safe just went with familiar, but stable, that's good. Okay. So weaknesses. I mean, familiarity is good, but there's some weaknesses there for sure.
Yeah. Oh, to be fair with another strength of the TSP,
Uh-huh.
because it's so straightforward. If you just use like the C and the S fund, it could be a very good vehicle for growth.
Hmm.
It could be a very good vehicle for growth. But as for weaknesses, it's the same answer. Because it's such a good vehicle for growth, it will not separate your money. And so, your money that you want for growth, if all the TSP is just meant for growth and not for income, then it's a strength. But if it's also meant for income, then the place that you're going to need to use income is the G fund. And unfortunately, the money is going to be mixed or intermeshed together. The money for growth and the money for income are going to be combined. And you know why that's a weakness?
Well, I would imagine because you want to have potential for each to take off in different directions, right? I mean, you don't
Well,
necessarily want to have them tied together.
Well, yeah, and the G fund, it will just make modest amounts for growth,
Right.
whereas not always, but typically the stock market, the C and the S fund, they're going to grow much better than the G fund over time. They will have moments of ups and downs, but here's the issue: if you got your G fund growing like this
Hmm.
steadily, and you got your C fund growing like this, and then the C fund drops down in the S fund, it's going to pull the whole thing down. And
Mm.
if you're using that money for income, then that's never a good idea because you're dragging down the value from this losses in the stock market. And then when you're pulling money for income, it's dragging it down even worse. So it
Yeah.
makes it much harder to regain. So that's a weakness of the TSP. And to be fair, for any 401k, 403b, 457, if your money's intermingled, then that can be a weakness. Even, believe it or not, Marcus, even in an IRA, if they're commingling the money together, that's bad.
Hmm.
So the weakness is at TSP, you can't just say, hey, I want to just sell off the G fund because I know it didn't lose any money with this last stock market loss. So, or while we're in it, I just want to sell off the G fund and I just want to use that money for income. They're going to say, yeah, you can't do that. All the money is mixed together. That's the way it goes. Yeah, it's
Okay.
all mixed together. It's intermingled. So that's a weakness of the TSP.
So you pay a price for familiarity, in essence.
Yeah, and for ease, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
So okay. So then, since you brought up IRA, um, when would I want to move to an IRA? When should I go with an IRA?
Okay, good. Well, I'm going to tell you when you shouldn't move to an IRA first.
Perfect.
If you're just going to move to an IRA just because you heard it was a great idea and the strengths of the IRA are it has a much, much greater and broader choice of investments, even things that are non correlated to the stock market. And so that would be really advantageous for you. But if you don't know why you're going to an IRA, you don't understand the IRA or the investments available to you, you're trying to either do it on your own, DIY, do it yourself,
Hmm.
or you're with a firm that you don't know what they're up to. You may not be really warm and fuzzy about your relationship, or you just don't understand what you're doing, then you shouldn't. You at that point, I would say you might be better off leaving your money at TSP, right? Yeah.
Yep.
But the strengths of an IRA, you got all those investment choices and as I mentioned before, and also what I mentioned before is you can separate the money. So the money that you want for income, you can use you can use that separate from the money for growth. And so that money maybe you can get it to grow steady for you and be very stable. If I ever use the word guarantee, that would relate to the claims paying ability of the insurance backed organization behind, say, something that's guaranteed. But that, I mean, it's a legalese, but I have to say that. But that money may never go down. And so if it never goes down, you can pull money from it. It may either go up or go sideways. And sideways
There
is
you go.
great when you're taking money for income because it's not going to go down very much, except for that maybe that monthly income, or maybe you take a chunk out to buy a new car, go on a trip you always wanted to, a bucket list thing. That's a good scenario. So that is really good for having an IRA or even multiple IRAs.
Ah, interesting.
You've got again with the tax planning, it's just you can get there, find somebody who does that. I mean, seriously, proactively pursues that. That's that can just put you. It could potentially put you light years ahead. So even if your TSP money, you just laid it on one fund and let it ride, right? And you made more money, you may surpass it. You may very well surpass those the growth just because of the tax planning. Because how would you want your money to grow? Do you want it to grow tax deferred so that you have you, Uncle Sam, and the state government if you live in a state that taxes it? Or do you want to get rid of your partners completely and just have you?
Yep. Yep. And that's good because everybody complains about taxes every year, right? Nobody
Yeah.
likes paying taxes, so
Right.
why not
Yes.
grow your money where you don't have to?
Yeah. And right. And you would know
Yeah.
after doing the tax returns all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
right. Why not get it to a place? It takes work. It takes muscle. That's why a lot of private firms they don't even want to deal with it, and it stings along the way. But boy, oh boy, is it worth it in the end? Let me tell
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
anything else, right? Hard work, sweat, blood, sweat, and tears goes into it, but in the end, it's all worth it.
Yeah, and listen, the TSP can be a good place for your money in retirement if you're not pursuing other options. Then it's not a bad place. I just believe that if you want to create a plan and you really truly want to pursue the tax planning and you want to separate that money so you don't have to suffer through when there is a downturn, which
Yeah.
there will always be in the future. I don't know when, but there will be another one and another one,
Yeah.
right? And when they happen, you could be insulated from those losses.
And that's good. I mean, we're all yeah, everybody gets a little nervous when they look at the economic changes, right? But if you feel your money's safe, man, what a sense of comfort that is.
Yeah, it sure is, because I've seen folks want to retire and they went through a market loss and they said, "Ah, man," and they held on for 2 or 3 more years just to get through the recovery, and they didn't want to keep working. I
Yeah.
don't think you're. I've said this before. Your paycheck every 2 weeks, does it fluctuate according to the performance of your TSP or the stock market?
The paycheck shouldn't, right? The paycheck's
The
consistent.
paycheck doesn't do that. So would you have your paycheck bouncing up and down every month in
No.
retirement according to the performance of your investments?
No, because you need to set a budget. I mean, if you're in retirement, you need to have a good budget.
Yeah, that's crazy,
Yeah.
right? To be
Yeah.
on a whipsaw. Yeah, and so that's why you really need to come up with a plan. And I firmly believe the separation of the assets for income and then for growth would be great. Hey, listen,
Excellent.
there is a caveat, Marcus, to all of this. If you're younger than 59 and a half and you're
Hmm.
going to need the money for income, right? Like let's say you're 57 and 30 years of service, you can retire. And you want to retire, you can afford to retire.
Right.
You've done the numbers, you've crunched it, you feel confident, or you have us crunching the numbers for you, or some professionals doing it for you, and it looks good. You've got to keep money in the TSP because you can avoid that early penalty. If you withdraw
Mm,
money out of an IRA before 59 and a half, you're subject to the 10% penalty for early withdrawal. If you
right.
keep it in TSP and you attain at least age 55 while working federally, then you are not subject to that 10% penalty for the early withdrawal before 59 and a half. So
Yeah.
make sure if you're working with professionals that they understand that because I've seen plenty of mistakes happen there.
Yeah. That's definitely good to know because if you've done your time, you're at that age and you've done your time, you would definitely want that option to be able to retire early, right? And not lose anything.
Right
So,
on.
yeah, man,
Yeah.
I love that.
Okay,
I love it.
good. You got
So,
a yeah. Oh, so to recap, hey,
yep.
TSP can be a decent place to keep your money in retirement if you're lacking a plan or you're lacking professionals you trust. Conversely, if you go to an IRA, you should be pursuing tax-free growth and you
Hmm.
should have access to all sorts, a world of investments that can really empower you for your future.
Excellent stuff. Excellent. Were you going to ask about health tip?
Oh, hey, Marcus, you got a health tip for us today? Oh man,
I do
I
actually. I
like
do.
that
And
segue. Yeah.
I'm going to talk about something near and dear to your heart and mind, and it's something I feel as the years go on, it's a lost skill, and that is cooking. You love to cook, right? I know you.
I do, but I love to cook because on the weekends I don't have to do that much, and so it's weekends when I surface to cook. Right.
Yeah.
In
I
retirement, I imagine I'll cook more.
I love cooking. You know I love being in the kitchen. I mean I just
Yeah.
love it. Love it. To me that's joy. But it's a diminishing skill for a lot of people. Either they've never cultivated it or they've never even bothered to learn it. So my health tip is if you don't know how to cook, learn how to cook. And just simple stuff like frying an egg, man. It's a huge difference getting we've discussed eggs right here on this podcast before. Good quality eggs made in a good way. I mean, there's nothing like it. And I think there's also this sense of enjoyment when you produce something with your two hands, right? You take this list of ingredients and you put it together into something and you're able to present it, even if it's just to yourself. Sit down on a plate of something for yourself. There's something satisfying about that. But you also ensure the quality of your ingredients and the nourishing factor of your food. I mean, you control all that when you know how to cook. So if you don't know how to do it, man, learn how to use a knife, learn how to use a skillet, learn how to use that fire, learn how to cook. That
Oh
could be
yeah.
life changing.
What did you say? Made eggs made right. I like that. Made
Yeah,
right. Made by the chickens pecking in the yard. Right.
that's right.
Y- Let them out of the coop and let them peck in the yard, and those yolks go deep orange.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
And that you said like when you do it with your own hands, you transmit that good energy, man. You do.
Absolutely.
It's like it's Po from Kung Fu Panda. I'm gonna quote Po from Kung Fu Panda and his dad. He says, "There is no secret ingredient." Well, I don't think that's true. I think you impart all that good stuff in there, right? There's the
Yeah.
the the, the last ingredient is love.
Love. And there is a difference when you cook with love, when you cook with your heart. It
It
does no
transmits.
it shows in the flavor. It shows in the quality of the food.
My wife says, my wife, it's funny because she comes from a family that they sure are foodies when it comes to their brisket, right? And when it comes
Yeah,
to their fried, when they're fried catfish, right? Because she's an Oklahoman, Texoki, I call her. But that's how my mom being Lebanese, that was how she, she expressed love so often. And
right.
so I love being in the kitchen, spinning around at the big bar and, and putting plates out for my kids and their friends and my friends. I love that. I love bartending too. I just love
Yep.
it. I don't know what it is. I love serving people and nourishing their
Yeah.
bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah, nourishing their bodies, and it's festive. Food is festive. It's made
Yeah.
to be shared,
Yeah.
right?
Sometimes people wait till holidays or special events, but man, if you know how to cook, you bring everybody, bring the gang over every Saturday and just have a cookout at your place, man. And you're eating good food, enjoying good company. It's good for you again physically, but I think it nourishes your soul to just have this ability and just be able to share something of yourself in the kitchen. I think learning how to cook, man, is one of those skills that everybody should know. And if you
I know.
haven't, learn it.
I loved food. My mom would pull me away from the six of us because she'd say, "Hey, who wants to go get a Reuben sandwich at the mall?" And she
Nice.
knew I wanted to because she said, "Your brother, he would just eat, but when you would eat, you would be like, mmm, mmm." I would make noises all the time, I guess, from enjoyment. I got a kid brother too, and he doesn't shy away from food by any means. But yeah, it was my older brother, not so much interested in it. And I remember my mom saying, I would say, I'm hungry. She says, why don't you make yourself something? I go, come on, mom. And she goes, no, no, really. And she would encourage me, right, to fry an egg. She
Yeah.
showed me how to boil an egg, right?
Yeah.
She showed me how to chop things. And I don't know, at some point, I just started, right? I just started cooking and taking off. Really, when when you move away, especially, right? When you move away,
Yep.
I know I had a friend, I still have a friend, Georgie. You know Georgie,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
from Pittsburgh, right? And he cooked. He was about the same age as me. I think he's the same age as me, but he cooked even more than I did. So he showed some things too. And before you knew it, we were just chopping onions, crushing garlic,
Yeah.
you know, boiling water, dropping the pasta in, right? And my mom would not preach to me, but she would say, "Sweetheart, all the world's best chefs are men, not women." She always said that. Now, ladies, don't take offense if you hear this. That was the way it was, 3 decades ago, is all. But I
Yeah.
think my mom was just trying to inspire me because I grew up seeing my mom in the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
And my dad, I'm not sure he could boil water. I mean, I really don't have a whole lot of memory at all of him being in the kitchen. It's the weirdest thing. Yeah, 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 I do. For ice cream or cereal. Dad could make a mean bowl of cereal.
Hey, that's something.
He
That's a
could pour
start, man.
he could pour the milk down and he could eat ice cream watching baseball. He would give each one of us, the three youngest kids, he would spill out some ice cream into the bowl and then he would eat the rest of that half gallon. He would just tear that ice cream up. My man loved him some ice cream, boy. I'll tell you what.
Oh.
Yeah, it
You
was.
reminded me now talking about your mom. You reminded me of something my mom did for me, and I
Tell
say
me, because I wanted to know.
did for me was what your mom did, and she made me cook at a young age, very young age. It was get in there. I remember one time, this is over summer vacation. My mom, we're not Mexican, but we grew up with a lot of Mexican customs. And one thing my mom always did when we were younger was make fresh tortillas. She made homemade tortillas. I did not like store bought tortillas for that reason because that's what I grew up with was homemade.
Right?
And I was at home. It was the summertime, and I call her up and I'm like, "Mom, we're out of tortillas." And she says, "Well, make some." Hey, what do you mean make some? She says, "Make some tortillas." I said, "How do you make them?" And she gave me the recipe. She told me how to do it, and I'd watched her enough, so I knew the gist of it. Couldn't make perfect circles, but man, the flavor on them was good. But what a what a beautiful thing to just learn something, to have someone in your life that tells you, you know what, just do it. Just
Yeah.
you're capable, right?
I think that's why I was able to start chopping things up because I'd watched my mom so many times.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
yeah. So
And she
learn
taught me
how
to
to
read a
cook.
recipe, right? She taught me to read a recipe too.
Yep.
Anybody can do that. Yeah. Yeah. I
Very
love it.
nice.
I'd see the 22-year-old now, Jude. I see him doing things. I don't know. Do I want to go so far as to say cooking? He can prepare a antipasta plate. Let me say
All
that.
right.
Cheese and prosciutto and braciola and things like that. And he'll drizzle olive oil and balsamic vinegar and pull out the bread. He can make toast. He's,
There's an art to it. There is an art to it.
whereas Sophia, she's only 16. She could get after it. She
Yeah,
can, and she can bake. She's been baking since she was 6 or 7. Yeah, she can do
absolutely. Her cookies, her what the French cookies, the little I'm losing. I'm
Oh
trying to
yeah,
blank on the word.
I can't believe it. It's not no, the beignets is from the
Yeah,
Creole in Louisiana. Yeah, you know what we mean.
yeah. People are
Macaroon,
watching this
the
yelling it out at us.
macaroons.
Macaron. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, the macaroons. They're so good. We
yeah,
we went to we flew through the Paris airport, Charles de Gaulle, and Sophie and I were on a little jaunt. There was 4 of us there. We leave Isaac usually. And
yeah.
anyway, we're there on this jaunt, and there was a macaroon store. And we went in there, and I tasted them, and I looked at Sophia, and I go, Sophia, I don't even like macaroons. These are so good. I go, at an airport? She goes, Dad, we're in Paris. Like as if, don't you? I mean, I was just surprised because I didn't want to say, hey, these are even better than yours. She goes, Dad, we're in Paris.
Vive
They
la
better,
France.
they better be better than mine, she says. We're the birthplace of these bad boys.
Yeah.
They were pretty good. And again, I'm not that big on macaroons, but I was like, whoa, these are
Well, you can get decent brisket at the Austin airport if you're interested.
good. Is that Rudy's?
No, it's actually Salt Lake.
Oh, is it? Yeah. And
Yeah,
is it still pretty good?
yeah, it's pretty good. Not the
Yeah,
best, but it's pretty good.
no, it's not the same as the original Salt Lick.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's hard to get that at the airport. It is, but still, it's pretty good. I went through Kansas City, and I went through the top, I don't know, the top 10 barbecue places, and they
yeah,
excluded Joe's, I think, but which I did go to too, and it was good. It was
right.
real good. I was
Yeah,
surprised.
Oklahoma Joe's.
I like the sausage actually. I was
Hmm.
surprised how much I liked the sausage there. But anyway, one of the places in the top 3 was at the airport. I know.
Really?
Yes, I didn't get a chance to try it, but maybe next time I go through there, I will.
Okay, next time I go visit my sister-in-law in Kansas City, we're stopping through the airport. We're going through the airport, and I'm gonna
Let's go,
try
baby.
it. We'll
Yes.
try it.
All right.
All
Is that
right. Well,
about a wrap there, Marcus?
yes, sir. Thank you very much. Great stuff. Learn how to cook if you haven't. And we always say this, right? Get someone on your side when you're making these decisions. TSP, IRA. Don't go it alone. Find someone who's going to be reliable and reach out. And go back through, we always we refer to throughout the podcast, other podcasts we've done. We have a whole library available. So, avail yourself of all that information. It's out there for your benefit. And we enjoy doing it. We love having you here with us as always. Thank you very much for being with us. Until next time, you guys take care. Chuck, thank you, brother. Always a pleasure.
You too, Marcus.
All right. Be good.
You too. Rock on. CD Financial, where health meets wealth.